What if I simply take the strands from your brush? Alessandra teased, snickering as Edgar looked up at her in disbelief. Do not come between him and his hair, she thought. I have no desire for anyone to collect my hair and attempt some dark magic. This kingdom has enough troubles without my likeness being used in sorcery. Speaking of which, you must never venture beyond this house unescorted. I will arrange for a guard tomorrow, Edgar mused, making a mental note to see it done. Is this because of the missing girls? Alessandra asked. She had overheard the Barrett servants discussing the matter on several occasions. That, and the fact that you are now a duchess. My enemies are now your enemies, whether you wish it or not. I will do all in my power to protect you, Edgar assured her. I am surprised anyone dares to challenge you. I do not claim to understand the full extent of your influence, but it is clear you are not a man to be trifled with. You lifted my father at his own gathering without consequence. If I did not like you, I would certainly avoid you, Alessandra remarked, knowing it would be folly to cross a man who could so effortlessly command fear. I have faced consequences before, Edgar admitted. Once I nearly found myself locked in a cell. From that day, I resolved to always act with careful deliberation. That is what so many in this kingdom lack, foresight. I have since learned to master my temper. I see, Alessandra murmured. Shall I brush your hair for you? She lifted the damp cloth from his head, revealing that his hair was nearly dry. So that you might later gather the fallen strand to sell? No, thank you. What you have done thus far will suffice. You ought to prepare for dinner. However, I find myself in the mood to do something uncharacteristic. Dining in our bedroom. What do you think? Edgar asked. Alessandra merely shrugged. She had often taken her meals alone in her chamber before, and while she enjoyed dining at Edgar's table, there was no harm in a quiet evening together. I am agreeable to it. I will inform Alfred, if I can find him. No doubt he is hiding to escape facing his own mischief. He is fortunate that I am fond of him, Edgar said, standing. Thanks to Alessandra, his hair was no longer dripping, and the cool night breeze from the open window would soon finish drying it. I envy the relationship you have with Alfred. The butlers at my father's house were always so serious. Alfred seems more like family than a mere servant. Oh, someone is knocking, Alessandra observed, glancing at the bedroom door. It is not likely to be Alfred, Edgar said, shaking his head. The butler would avoid him this evening as a sinner avoids the church. He strode to the door and opened it, revealing the person Alfred had sent in his stead. It is your maid, he announced to Alessandra. Forgive the intrusion, Your Grace, Sally said hesitantly. I have come to prepare the Duchess's bath. She hesitated, wondering if she ought to leave, given that the Duke and Duchess were alone in their chamber. If the Duchess has no need of me, I will take my leave. Stay, she requires her bath, Edgar said. I will step out to inform the cook that we shall be dining in our room. It would be a fine reward if I were to catch you peeking at me as I did you earlier. His grin widened as Alessandra's cheeks flushed crimson. Alessandra sighed, knowing Edgar would never let her forget the incident. Edgar, wait. Are you going to the kitchen like that? She gestured at his bare chest and loosely fitted trousers. Am I to be forbidden from being comfortable in my own home? I am always like this, and there is no reason to fret over the maids seeing me. They may look, but they cannot touch, unless they wish to lose a finger, Edgar said, smiling as though he had not just spoken of severing limbs. I will return soon. I care not for the maids. I simply do not want you to fall ill, Alessandra muttered as the door shut behind him. Oh, we must hurry, Your Grace, Sally said, closing the door swiftly behind Edgar. She was quick to decipher what was transpiring and assumed Alessandra was none the wiser. I know I must bathe, but why such haste? Alessandra asked, puzzled by Sally's urgency. The Duke has requested to dine with you in your bedroom. I must make you presentable before he returns, and I shall inform the butler to ensure you are not disturbed. Where is the bathing chamber? Is it here? Sally rushed towards a door. Is this not an overreaction? Alessandra followed her, perplexed. It is only dinner in our room. He must be impatient if he wishes to dine here rather than in the hall. What did you wear on your wedding night? Your attire should be just as splendid this evening. Fortunately, I was well versed in such matters before my circumstances changed. Edgar and I are only dining together, Alessandra corrected. Nothing more, and I do not see how you have leapt to such a conclusion. If he were so eager, would he not have attempted something before dinner? Why am I even entertaining this line of thought? She pressed a hand to her forehead to quiet her own musings. Only dining? Sally repeated, dubious. What is wrong with the dining hall that you must eat in your bedroom? Nothing at all. We simply wish for a quiet evening. The servants may retire early rather than wait up to clear the table after us. Why? Sally frowned. You have only just married. This is when couples are most eager to spend their time together. Has no one ever spoken to you of this? Alessandra opened her mouth, then shut it. Edgar had mentioned that tutors were often less than helpful. She was beginning to understand what he meant. Alessandra quickly realized that if she and Edgar did not have a contract ensuring open communication, Sally's words might have sent her into a panic about her marriage. Edgar isn't seeking pleasure elsewhere. In his own words, he is not a man of loose morals, Alessandra stated plainly. Sally sighed, finding Alessandra incredibly naive. Of course he would say that to his wife, but you're telling me that after only 2 nights of marriage he has no interest in touching you. That will only lessen your chances of bearing a child quickly, and what if it takes too long? Alessandra couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of Sally's words. What nonsense are young women being taught? Is there some book that declares all men behave this way? I am not yet ready to become a mother. There are past wounds I am still healing from, and I would rather not bring a child into the world while I am still suffering from them. Have you told the Duke you do not wish to have a child soon? Sally asked hesitantly, thinking Alessandra would be a fool if she had not. He agrees that we are not ready, Alessandra replied simply. Then that is unusual, my lady. But men marry expecting their wives to give them a son immediately. They— Stop right there, Alessandra interrupted, pinching the bridge of her nose in frustration. Edgar is not the kind of man you have been warned about. I don't know what you have seen or what tales you have been told, but I have spoken to my husband and we are of the same mind when it comes to our marriage. Alessandra continued. I should not even need to explain this to you, but I like you well enough to want you to understand. If your future husband ever wishes only to talk with you instead of immediately claiming his marital rights, it does not mean he is seeking another woman. It seems there are endless rules for how a wife must behave in marriage, yet I intend to live with my husband in a way that suits us, not according to someone else's expectations. She wished Sally and other women would realize that if a man married solely to secure an heir, or if he tired of his wife and sought another, then he was simply a— Not all men were the same. I am sorry, Your Grace, Sally said, lowering her gaze. I should not have assumed. It is fine. It shows you care for me, which is a step forward in our relationship. Only yesterday you were too afraid to be in the same room with me, and now you worry that I might fall out of Edgar's favour. But understand this. My husband and I speak openly, and he is always honest with me. It is Edgar, after all. That man never keeps his thoughts to himself. That is true, Sally admitted, recalling her interactions with him. Edgar was not the type of man to hide things. Men of his rank often flaunted their lovers openly, even in the presence of their wives, simply because no one could challenge them. I'm sorry. I have been foolish to let my thoughts run wild. Alessandra nodded. I appreciate that, but you must be careful when you voice such thoughts. If other women hear you say Edgar and I are not often together, they will gossip and claim he has taken a— She warned.
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.